Hello ladies, gentlemen, everything betwixt and everything beyond. If I've learned one thing during my time in a college dorm, it's that guys love to sing together in public showers. I've also learned that I'm a slave to nostalgia, a better time when things were based around this instead of this. Because of that, I decided to pick up my DSi and revisit some games from my youth. I also thought, what a fun and original concept to make a YouTube video about. This brought me into the loving arms of the North American exclusive Monster Tale, not to be mistaken with the Undertale AU I found while doing my research for this video, also titled Monster Tale. I remember seeing this game plenty when I was younger, but I've not seen people revisiting it today, so I wanted to see for myself if it brought me the same enjoyment that it did all those years ago. Upon starting my research for this video, this is where my thesis ended. I sought out to create a game review akin to those I watched the same time this game came out. This was before I went down the rabbit hole that is Dreamrift, the company that made the game. I still plan to discuss Monster Tale as it is completely worthy of such discussion, but I will not be separating the art from the artist. To best organize these ideas, let's format this video as a rise and a fall of Dreamrift. Released in March of 2011, less than a month after the release of the 3DS, Monster Tale was a critical success, even being called the perfect send-off to the Nintendo DS. Take this with a grain of salt, however, as the DS was supported for another 3 years. Reading this, it would be an understatement to say that Monster Tale did well when it came out. I myself took part in this excitement, as I was a proud owner of Monster Tale. In all honesty though, I didn't really remember it.
What the heck is Monster Tale on the Nintendo DS?
I know I thought the art was cute, but that was only a reoccurring thought because I would frequently see the box in varying containers around my house. At 9 years old, there were few games my attention span would really allow me to make room for in my brain. This has changed since I've gotten increasing obsessive tendencies. Let's begin with the story. As many of you know, capturing DS footage is not insanely easily accessible. Because of this, any gameplay footage used in this video will be from the wonderful people at worldoflongplays.com, unless stated otherwise. For the story, however, I have chosen to display my telling in the form of drawings. Our story begins with a very short prophecy telling of a girl, who is our main character Ellie, coming to save the monster world. It might seem like I left details out, but not really, it was just that short. Then Ellie is woken up by a noise, which leads her to go to the adjacent forest and find a shiny bracelet. Like any self-respecting human would do, she puts it on. This bracelet takes her to the aforementioned monster world, and within moments, she finds a magic rock that turns her hand into a gun hand. It doesn't stop her though, she carries on like it's been this way her whole life. Ellie then finds an egg hatching, and takes the newborn, literal monster in as her own child, even giving it a name, Chomp. The only other characters in the story are the Kid Kings. These are children who have found their own monsters and are using them to take over the world through their own form of the caste system. At the head of these children is the Queen Priscilla, who wants to take her monsters to the human world. From a character quality standpoint, most of the kings are inoffensive, except for Ethan. Ethan is a nerd and makes me mad. Even after his redemption, just look at him. Ellie must then fight the other kings and go on a warpath to solve monster racism on her way to both save and return to her home. With the synopsis out of the way, let's move on to the gameplay. Just like the hit game from the Nintendo Entertainment System Nintendo Switch Online's Metroid, Monster Tale is a Metroidvania. In addition to this genre, this game has another trick up its sleeve. While you are exploring the world, you can feed your monster friend Chomp in a very watered down system like that of Tamagotchi. This food only provides him experience, however, which is the perfect amount of responsibility for someone who has Neopets he hasn't seen in years. Putting Chomp in his virtual pet house on the bottom screen allows him to heal and interact with certain objects from the world above. The world above can also provide things in return for Chomp in the form of pet items. These items don't only give experience, but can do fun things that help clean the screen of enemies. The most talked about feature of this game, however, were the different ways Chomp could grow up and take on different forms. I would love to talk more about it in this review, but I did very little to explore these different forms during my playthrough. Oops. These different forms have alignments with particular elements that play into a Rochambeau system that was discovered by Beyblade in 1999. So what does this game do well? The sprites and animations were very pretty and smooth. There were 2 animations that stuck out to me in their own special ways. The melee combo looked very smooth and very cool, especially with Ellie using her bag as a weapon. The crouch, especially crouching and shooting, just stuck out to me as funny looking. I was a huge fan, don't get me wrong, I would do it even when I didn't need to. The actual zones, while not particularly unique, all managed to look appealing. I especially appreciated this during the final zone, with the whole castle aesthetic. Moving on from visuals, it must be said that the music in this game does go hard. That's why I also made it the soundtrack for this video. As with any series that has characters and a banging soundtrack, there's only one logical step to take next. And finally, there was a short section that took place on a train. If there's one thing I love more than anything in video games, it's trains. I mean, how could you not? There's so much room to be doing things, but all the while you're moving at high speeds and they're just so... Next we're going to discuss kind of the middle area. The only thing in this category is difficulty. Difficulty is something that's hard to put as either a pro or a con, and because of this, I've chosen to whip out the stats and let you decide. Each boss took me about 3 tries at most. After the 3rd boss, I started dying a lot, but I could just be bad. The only boss I beat first try was the final boss, so I could just be good. Now on to the cons. The sheer amount of backtracking in Monster Tale irked me more than anything else during my time with the game. Almost every objective in the game requires going across the map to get a power-up first. Backtracking is necessary and rewarding, and it's wonderful to see things early on that you get to clear later. That being said, the feeling of reward wears off after the 1,374,868th time that you achieve it. Coming in a close second, the unskippable cutscenes also managed to get under my skin once or twice. This particularly came up when I would lose boss fights and be forced to go through the dialogue again. Unlike Pokemon, I never found an option to let me make the text go faster. These 2 issues, along with a new issue that came and went like it was nothing, culminated in the worst individual event in the game. More than 75% of the way through the game, the player is hit with a paywall. At no point before or after this is gold required to carry on with the story. Not only this, but the actual need to do this isn't really addressed. This leads to poor, unfortunate stalls like this user from GameStop Reviews who thought their game was glitched. Making it worse is that this comes directly after a location that allows you to spend all your money on upgrades. Like, how was I supposed to know to resist the temptation of all these boxing gloves? To make up for my poor fiscal decisions, I had to backtrack to the best grinding spots that I searched up on game FAQs, and had to go with what felt like an hour away to save constantly, because you do not save gold when you die. Directly after crossing the paywall is a boss. No save points like a certain player expected. Not only did I have to sit through Ethan's dumb dialogue again, but I had to collect the gold all over again. While it seems as though I went on about the cons a lot more, and I probably did, I did genuinely enjoy my time with this game. I would love to say that I'd be willing to turn around and play it all over again, but with the amount of backtracking I did, it feels like I already played it multiple times. Maybe in a few years I can revisit it and actually experiment with that one core mechanic I totally ignored. If Dreamrift's story ended here, all would be well, and they could be remembered fondly. Sadly though, with the rise must come the fall. After releasing their first game as a late DS title, Dreamrift soon went on to release their second, and last game as an early 3DS title a year later. This game was Epic Mickey: The Power of Illusion. I have played it, and it was fun enough. Both critics and fans had a less favorable feeling towards it, but it would be a stretch to say that it was to blame for the fall. For the next 3 years, all we saw was discussion of what would come next, including a Monster Tale remake. Then, after 5 years of radio silence, their website was taken down, and the only traces of them left were in a YouTube comment made by a former head of design. Hey, I know there's only about a minute left in the video, but please stick with me because this is important. I have had to repost this video after 4 months to comply with a threat I received from this unnamed head of design because I used his picture and his full name in the video. To fix this, I've replaced them both with elements of his Twitter account, which are both public information, just like his YouTube username and the comment that I guess he regrets leaving. That's all. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy. At Ara-isms. This comment said that the employees were left in the dark by the heads of the company just as much as the fans when there was no follow-up to the announcement of the Monster Tale remake. This is kind of underhanded, but not exactly illegal. What is illegal is the alleged unpaid work that many employees face. I reached out to Mr. Isms for further questioning, but sadly got no response. Because of this, we are left to take the word of this one man, as it is the only statement we have from any party involved with the company or this incident. All we do know for sure is that we are still yet to hear anything of Monster Tale or Dreamrift. In a perfect world, those employees would be paid. We'll be getting that Monster Tale remake that would improve every single aspect of the adventure as it's been told, and at Ara-isms would respond to my tweet. Until that day comes, thank you for watching, I appreciate you all, and feel free to subscribe. It's free, so you'll always get your money's worth.